Right, it's now time for us to jump back into sorting out these bearings. So in this episode, we're going to dive into the actual frame bearings, and we're going to sort out the races and for the rear swing arm bearings and the headstock bearings. So thanks for checking out the video. For everyone who checked out the previous one, you're awesome. And let's get stuck in. Right, so these are the inner bearings of the rear swing arm that I've just taken out. So what I mean by that is that's the swing arm. It goes on the back of the frame. And down in here, you can see the state of, so that's the inner bearing race that you can see there, the bottom lip of it, which is meant to be perfectly smooth, beautiful metal, and you can see it is just destroyed. And these might be some of the grossest bearings I think I've ever seen come out of something. I mean, you know, I'm pretty new to this stuff, but look at that. Like, it's full of sand. It's just absolutely... ugh. It's just awful. Both of them are like that. So these 100% needed to be replaced. They were easy to come out. It's literally just prise out a seal and away they go. So the hard part is going to be getting the races out. And for that, we might need to get creative. It does say that you need the use, so in the manual, the beautiful manual that we have over here, I learned my lesson from the wheels and checked the manual first. 160 over here. Here we go. We can show prizing out this. That's the inner race that we've just taken out, and it mentions the use of a puller to get the inside. That's kind of all it says. It doesn't give you any details about how to get that race out in any kind of meaningful way, so we might have to go to the interwebs to find that out. Cool, so it's the next day, and I did a little bit of research and a little bit of thinking today around how we can get these inner bearing races out for the swing arm and the steering head bearing. And I think we're going to be... I picked up a couple things that may not work. We're going to employ the welder to maybe try and... We've got a few different things, but let me draw you a little picture and I'll show you the problem, because it's probably not immediately apparent from just the little video that I showed you before. So let's have a look at this. So now that I kind of draw this little picture, it's a bit silly, but imagine that this is this line here on the outside, and that goes up here, same this here, this is just kind of a cross section of it, is the frame. And then these triangle bits are the bearing race that kind of sits inside that frame. And the problem that we have is there's no way to kind of access it from this side to get against the lip of the bearing race to kind of tap that out. There's no way to really kind of grip it from this side and pull it out. So what I'm thinking is, what we're going to attempt first off is, I've seen instances where they've used a welder and just... You can buy kits for this stuff, but I'm not going to spend $200 on a kit to do one thing. So you can run a bead of weld all the way around. So imagine you place a bead of weld kind of there, all the way around, and that heats up the race sufficiently that it'll just fall out. Not convinced that that will work. So what I've also got is some washers and some threaded rod, and I'm going to attempt to do sort of like a slide hammer type situation. So what we'll do, hopefully if the washers are the right sizes, we'll take a large washer and we'll kind of bridge the gap here. We'll weld that on to the race, and then we've got this washer that gives us kind of a means by which we can grip the thing. So then we'll run some threaded rod through, like that. Imagine that's threaded rod. We'll put a bolt on one end with a washer there to kind of give it a little bit of, imagine that's bolted on. So that means that we've then got threaded rod that's coming out in this direction, and we can kind of put another washer on the other end and like a little bit of tube kind of thing, and we can slide that along and use the hammer motion of that to kind of like pull that out. Hopefully our welds are good, and hopefully this gives enough purchase. I don't really have anything that's really heavy. Normally with a slide hammer you need a lot of weight to the slide so that it's got quite a bit of inertia to push it out. Lots of variables that might not work, but we'll try it and we'll kind of, iterate from there. It's all about iteration. Okay, so here is setup / test number 1, and I'll be honest, I'll be shocked if this works. So all I've got is a piece of threaded rod, M6 threaded rod at the bottom. Well, actually we should start with inside here. I've just got one of the washers underneath with a little tack weld there to hold it in place. Yeah, threaded rod with some washers on one end, washers on the other, and like a handle situation in the middle. So the idea being that we can use this as kind of like a slide hammer by blamming it up like that. Don't think this is going to work because there's not that much kind of force in this, but let's get this all set up in a tripod camera holdy situation and give that a go. So far, absolutely zero movement. So let's hit it with some heat and some penetrant. The fumes from that paint are awful. Obviously this is going to destroy the paint, but I'm not that beholden to it. Damn it, this thing keeps going out. Not that fussed about the paint because, well, it's just paint, we can put more on. Okay. What to do next? More heat? Potentially more heat. I wonder. Okay, new setup. So this is going to look crazy, but went under the house, and just by where you crawl under the house I found some of this PVC pipe, and I'm hoping it will have enough strength. It's just the right kind of diameter to go around here and sit on the outside, and I've got kind of washers going through, washers coming up here. Didn't have a washer big enough, so I've got these two pieces of angle iron kind of holding it all there. And so in theory, if I hold the threaded rod at the top so it doesn't just spin around, and then slowly tighten this, it should just eventually pull it out. So, do we think this one will work? Don't know. Where could it go wrong? This could explode. It won't explode, but it could all get all crumpled and shit. Only one thing to do, try it out. Damn, I think the PVC slipped off. That's a pain because that's a bit of a mission to get that all set up. I wonder if this is going to work or if I'm just going down a route that is just a waste of time. I actually wonder if the washer jumped through. If it was, although I guess if it was just on a little bit of an angle it might have, so maybe it was just that. We'll try again and attempt to really make sure that the washer underneath is sitting super square against the dealio. Okay, I definitely think it's that the pipe isn't square, or it's not quite wide enough to really sit on that edge nicely. So you can see it's kind of started to slide there, and it's tight. There's nothing I can do to sort of correct that. So we could get 2 more pieces of angle iron and put it like essentially opposite to these to do the same job as it's doing here underneath that, and that might do it. Okay, so what is this? Iteration number 5 or 6. So 2 more pieces of angle iron so that doesn't slide off. It does mean that the race itself from underneath can't like slide all the way up, but hopefully just by dislodging it enough it will come out. So maybe this will work, maybe not. There's the pliers. Can you see the pliers? Got a red handle. Oh, it did it again. Washer on the bottom pulled through. Yeah. Oh, okay. It is a couple nights later, actually, after the previous defeat of trying to use the makeshift tool to kind of get these out. And what you're seeing in front of you is the one that I was attempting to remove, removed. You'll notice it's covered in dodgy welds. So after a bit of searching online, lots of forums seem to say just like if you've got a welder, which I'm fortunate enough to have at the moment, just smash a bunch of welds and it shrinks up, because as the welds cool down, it's still quite warm, as the welds cool down it shrinks the whole thing down and it pops out. It didn't pop out, I still had to kind of persuade it a little bit, but there you go, there's a technique that works. So we're just going to carry on. This means the rest of this should go pretty quickly. We can carry on, get the next one out of the swing arm, get the other two out of the front of out of the frame. The cool thing about this is that we're going to be able to actually finish the video with a bit of assembly. We'll be able to put some stuff back together and have some, like, what feels like real progress. I'm excited. Okay, this one's proving a little bit harder because there's no access behind it. So I've put some weld on it and I'm just trying to kind of lever it out. It is slowly coming out, but man, it is lucky I've got that welder, because without buying an extractor tool, this would have literally been impossible without it. So I owe my brother at least a few beers. Whoa. Just realized that I'm an idiot. Problem with this current system is I'm leaning the drift against here and drifting that edge up, and then leaning it there and drifting that edge up, but blocking the other side from staying where it needs to be. So I almost need to not quite sure how I'm going to deal with that. I wonder if I can kind of just, I think this is going to cause the same issue. So this is kind of as far as I can get it with this tool. Need something that can kind of get in there and pull up. And I don't know that my washer system will really work. I suppose one thing I could try is cutting a washer like this, cutting the edges off so that it's not circular, so that you can kind of, imagine that's the gap, you can kind of insert it like that sort of thing, and then pull up. Might work. You know, I think the only way I'm going to be able to get this out now is by cutting it. Well, the only way I can get it out with the tools that I have is by cutting it, because I tried this. Where are we? Tried this, wasn't super effective. That's awful, sorry. Just jammed that in your face. Cut that down, wasn't super effective. It does get in there, but the washers, I could probably actually do with a wider washer for this kind of use case. Oh, it's actually wigging on out a little bit. Definitely moved. Can't really give it the, pull it out, otherwise it kind of likes to just slip away on you. Where's my hammer? Oh, maybe this will work. If I just go gingerly. No, it's pushing it back in, isn't it? Well, I've managed to get that stuck in a bit of weld. That's helpful. Oh, it's pushing it back in. Fuck. I managed to get that stuck in there now. Awesome, that's not that helpful. Boomtown, I got it out. That was tough. So I'm a little bit annoyed that I didn't get it on video, but essentially the process was I did the welding and got it out a good chunk of the way, but then it gets caught, so there must be like a lip on this outer edge here or something, because both of them bound up out there. So then I got a bit of heat and heated up the outside. You can see the paint's all screwed there again, and then did that, and then finally got in there with this and managed to blam it out. So swing arm, I feel like that's going to be the hardest of all of these to get out, so there we go. That's cool. Woo! I'm sorry I didn't film it. It was just believe me, it was a triumphant moment. Okay, so here's the replacement bearing for the swing arm, and yeah, I'm just going to sort of offer it up to the race up to there. I think that might go in pretty easily. Obviously we need to really make sure that it goes in even, and this I don't think I really want to grease it, right, because this has got to be like a really tight press fit. So we just need to find a nice socket now and tappity tap it in. Damn it. The socket is just that fraction too wide to be able to drift it all the way in. Man, this thing's just, I know it's, I want to say that it's fighting me at every step of the way, but really I know that it's just that I just don't have the right tools. I don't really want to try and take a drift and go against that lip, because if I slip and damage the inner race, that's bad news. Slip and damage that face. So yeah, unless I'm just really careful, those famous last words, be careful and it'll be fine. I think they probably are. What about this one? See, that one's gonna rest on, yeah. That one's actually resting inside it, so I kind of need something, well, to be honest, something about that diameter, but that sort of wants to slip around quite a bit because I'm trying to tap it around, right around the edge. No, it doesn't want to play ball. ho, ho, ho. Blammo. Yes. And blammo number 2. Oh, those ones are easy. You know what this means? Time for assembly. Top triple tree, extra stuff. I'm going to have to actually do some research on, just look in the book, because I took this stuff apart so long ago that I don't actually remember how it goes back together properly. So this is actually, while it is cool to put this together, this is not probably going to be the final assembly. I need to remind myself exactly what goes where to make this all work. There's also obviously this piece here needs to go on, something like, you know, something like that, and then have it all kind of bolt together and work. So, but this is awesome. Yes, progress. Okay, here we go. So I've pieced together this situation. We have the bottom triple tree thing, I guess you'd call it. The new, I spritched a little bit of new paint over it to tidy up what we ruined when we put some heat into the thing. So we've got our new dust seal in here, new bearing, the stem shaft thing, and then our new bearing on the other end, freshly painted dust seal thing here, our two kind of weird stem bolt things here that I don't have the right tool to tighten up, top triple tree, and then on the very top a kind of crown bolt thing there which needs tidying up already. But there we go. That is super exciting to have sorted, and this is all nice and smooth, which is exactly what we're after. From what I've seen online, this doesn't need to be particularly tight. As long as the top, there's two of these bolts in here, as long as the top bolt is kind of tightened down to make sure it doesn't come loose, this is about kind of being smooth, and right there it is smooth, and there is like a little bit of, you know, just kind of the right amount of tension on it. So just doing it up by hand might actually be fine, but I need to figure out a way to tighten that top bolt, but I'll do that off camera. It's not important. And to be honest, we might even leave the video here, because the next step is putting the rear swing arm on, and I don't really want to do that until I kind of have the a larger portion of things figured out and the kind of order of operations to do. So there we go. So that begs the question, what's next for the XJ for Stanley? Well, I think it will be a great piece of news actually. I had anticipated not a particular piece of the puzzle. I was trying to find it. I think I mentioned it in one of the videos, was a small kind of locating dowel for the engine, and I thought I was going to have to make something to do the job, but just a couple of days ago, got an email from a company that I had bought one from in the States ages ago, months ago, and I just assumed, it was like $20, I just assumed that they weren't going to fulfill that order to say that it's been shipped. So that's awesome, like we can actually use that part that turns up. So that will probably be the next thing, is looking at that and trying to start to figure out how we're going to piece together the top end of this engine. Where is it? Down there somewhere. Thing under the rags there. And that'll be super exciting to start kind of doing that side of things and actually start like a proper decent reassembly. So yeah, there you go. Thanks for coming on this journey with me of struggling with these, really struggling with these bearings, but we got there in the end. And yeah, don't forget to sort of I feel so dirty saying it, but like and subscribe if you want to come along on the rest of the journey of the XJ with me. See you next time.